The soft, classical music of my boutique was a stark contrast to the violent buzz of my phone on the glass countertop. I was in the middle of tying a delicate silver clasp around a customer's wrist, the final knot in a custom-made charm bracelet. The phone vibrated again, insistent. I finished with a practiced, calm smile, handing the woman the tiny velvet box. "I hope it brings you every joy," I said, my voice steady, a complete betrayal of the earthquake happening in my pocket. Only, after she had left, the bell on the door chiming our exit, did I allow myself to look. The screen glowed with a message from Ryan. It was short, cold, and devastatingly clear. "I'm done, Nora. I am moving to Florida with Emily. Don't call me. I've already taken what's mine." A strange, hollow silence filled the shop. I looked around at the space I had built, the warm gold tones of the display lights, the glint of diamonds and polished gemstones, the quiet hum of the air conditioner. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't even blink. Instead, a slow, deliberate smile touched my lips as I polished the spot on the counter where the bracelet had lain. He had no idea what was coming. My name is Nora. I'm 35 years old, and for almost a decade, I've owned Orient, a small handcrafted jewelry boutique nestled in a cobblestone alley in the heart of the city. What started as a single wobbly table at local craft fairs, my fingers raw from wiring and soldering, had grown into the sanctuary of gold, soft light, and ambition realized. My husband Ryan loved to take credit for this success. At parties, he'd sling an arm around me and tell people, "We built this from the ground up," his voice dripping with false pride. The truth was, he'd never spent a single day behind the counter, never known the ache in a creator's back after a long day. He just liked the spotlight, the compliments, the illusion of being the formidable man behind the talented woman. From the outside, we were the picture of perfection. But I'd noticed the cracks spiderwebbing through our marriage long before that text message arrived like a final hammer blow. There were the late nights at work that didn't align with his project manager's salary, the sudden change of passwords on his phone and laptop, the scent of an unfamiliar, expensive perfume on his coat, and the receipts for dinners at places we could never afford, tucked into the pockets of his newly acquired, tailored suits. I never confronted him. I never threw a scene or demanded answers. I am a jeweler. I understand the value of patience and the power of a precise strike. So I just watched. I listened. And I took meticulous, silent notes, gathering my own treasures while he was busy. Gathering his. When I finished closing the shop that evening, the ritual of turning off the lights, setting the alarm, and locking the heavy oak door felt more like a sacrament than a chore. I didn't go home to our empty, echoing apartment. Instead, I drove straight to the bank, my hands steady on the wheel. The fluorescent lights of the bank lobby were a harsh contrast to my boutique's warm glow. The teller, a young woman whose name tag read Chloe, offered a polite smile that vanished as she checked the system. Her expression shifted to one of pity, a look I was already growing accustomed to. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Cole," she said softly, leaning closer as if to shield me from the humiliation. "The joint account was cleared out this morning, $49,812. Transferred electronically at 8:12 a.m. I simply nodded, my face a placid mask, as if I had already known, as if this was merely a confirmation of a long-expected event. "Thank you for your help," I replied, my voice unnervingly calm. The money was gone. Our entire savings, the emergency fund I had meticulously built from my first market sales, the financial cushion that kept my store afloat during the inevitable slow months, all of it vanished in the time it took Ryan to click a button on his phone dot. But as I walked back to my car, the cold knot in my stomach began to thaw, replaced by a simmering resolve. Ryan had taken the money, but he had underestimated the one fundamental truth about me. I never relied on him to survive. My real security wasn't in a shared bank account. It was in my own wit and the evidence I'd been quietly gathering. That night, in the silent sanctuary of my workshop at the back of the boutique, I went to war. I pulled out every folder, opened every envelope, and scrolled through every old email. The digital trail was a damning map of his betrayal, Hotel receipts from a luxury stay in Chicago, restaurant bills from a romantic waterfront dinner in Miami, and gift invoices for designer jewelry I'd never seen a diamond tennis bracelet. Pearl drop earrings, not for me. For her dot, and then the calls began. My phone lit up with a cascade of sympathy from friends, coworkers, even his own sister. "Nora, we're so sorry." "We didn't know how to tell you," one of them said gently, their voice laced with an awkward pity. "We heard you and Ryan." "Separated months ago?" "Separated?" The word landed like a physical blow. He hadn't just left me. He had retroactively erased our marriage, painting me as a willing participant in its dissolution. Apparently, everyone in our lives had been handed a script for this play, and I was the only one who didn't know my part. But the real punch, the masterstroke of his deceit, came later that night when Emily, the woman he'd run off with, called. Me, herself. Her voice was young, nervous, tinged with a guilt she couldn't quite place. "Hi, I just wanted to check something," she stammered. "Ryan told me you two were already finalized. He said you were amicable, that you agreed to let him have the savings so he could start over clean. I wanted to make sure you were okay with that." A sharp, incredulous laugh escaped me, the sound stark in the quiet of my boutique. "Emily," I said, the name feeling foreign on my tongue. "I found out about you 5 hours ago." The silence that followed was heavy, broken only by a soft, shaky intake of breath. Then a shattered whisper. "Oh my God, he told me the divorce was finalized months ago." The final piece of his deceit slid into place. He hadn't just betrayed me. He had built her a reality on a foundation of my complete erasure. He'd lied to her too, making her an unwitting accomplice in his charade. The following days were an archaeological dig through the ruins of my marriage, unearthing deeper layers of his fraud. I found 3 maxed-out credit cards open in my name, statements filled with charges for romantic getaways and gifts I never received. I discovered applications for unauthorized business loans, leveraging the reputation of my boutique. Most brazen of all were the emails where he perfectly mimicked my tone, pretending to be me to my suppliers, siphoning off materials and credit. A desperate, foolish part of me called his parents, hoping for a thread of humanity. His mother's voice was a cold blade. "Nora, Ryan just wants to be happy. Maybe you should let him go and move on." Her words didn't break me. They forged me. That was the moment the last ember of pain died, and a cool, formidable power surged in its place. I stopped feeling like a victim and started feeling like a strategist, because while he was playing his games, I had been fortifying my castle. Months ago, I had quietly moved my business license, all my assets, and the store lease into a separate, legally protected company under my name alone. I had every receipt, every timestamp, every bank statement. I had his own signature on the transfer documents, signed while he was distracted, planning his business trip to Miami. So when Ryan and his lawyer sat across from me, demanding half of my boutique, I smiled sweetly. "Half of what?" "Exactly?" "The business," Ryan snapped, his voice dripping with entitlement. "It's ours." I slid a single folder across the polished table. "Actually, it's been solely mine since March. You signed off on it, remember? You were too busy packing for your trip to read it." The color draining from his face was a masterpiece. A week later, I systematically dismantled his new life. I froze the fraudulent cards, filed a police report for identity theft, and alerted the IRS. His dream move to Florida vanished. His shiny new girlfriend, confronted with the truth, disappeared. The money he stole was frozen. His one furious call was his finale. "You destroyed me, Nora." I took a calm sip of coffee. "No, Ryan, you built your own ruin." I just handed the authorities the blueprint. I blocked his number and never looked back. Now, morning sunlight catches in my boutique, and I see how everything he tried to steal became the foundation for something unbreakable. I lost a husband, but I found myself sharper, wiser, and longer afraid. He thought a text message and an empty account were his winning moves. He never saw my counterplay coming.